Today we're going to make a baked pierogi casserole. I had a hankering for pierogies, and I just didn't want to do what I normally do, which is boil them and fry them, and the basic way. So I found this recipe, I modified it to my liking, and I hope you like it. The first thing we're going to do is get some onions in there. You can't have enough onions. And we're going to chop them up two different ways. So I've got like a medium onion. I'm just going to chop it. You can chop it into slices. Most of what I had was already chopped up into chunks, so I left it that way. I also wanted some extra cheese in it, so I had some leftover mozzarella I wanted to get rid of, and I really didn't feel like shredding it. So what I did was I just sliced it thin, and I thought, hey, you know what, when we get to baking this thing, a little bit of cheese on top is going to do wonders. I sliced that up, and then while I was at it, I realized that I did have a little bit of old cheddar that needed to be used up. After a while, cheese starts to kind of go. So before it gets to that point, I thought, okay, let's try that. So we sliced that up nice and thin too-ish. And once I thought I had enough to cover the top of the dish, well, we put them on a plate and we set it aside. Now I need to warm up a pan on medium because we're going to cook our bacon and onions. I had a little bit of leftover bacon in the fridge for making BLTs earlier in the week. That's about 8 slices. It might be a little more than that. Well, it wasn't much, so it's like half a pound, just under. And I chopped it up. You can make it longer, you can make it smaller. Once again, it all depends on how you like doing it. So now the pan's warmed up, we're going to take half of the onions I chopped and we're going to cook them down. Now what I figured is it kind of gives two flavors, and I've done this in like my spaghetti sauces and that. You've got half the onions nice and cooked like that, and the other half are raw. It gives it, a different flavor because onions get really sweet when you cook them down. I thought the contrast between the two would be all right. And I didn't do a whole lot, but, enough, I thought, for the dish. So while we're at it, we're going to cook up the bacon. And I don't want it super crispy. If you like it crispy, cook it crispy. I like it chewy, but not super chewy. You could theoretically just put it in the oven like that, but what I find is when you're using bacon, it doesn't really cook that well in the oven. You need to kind of par cook it ahead of time. So with this, the recipe I had called for a half a cup of chicken stock and a 1/3 cup of cream cheese. I wasn't so sure that was going to work, and that was kind of the reason for the other cheese too, because cream cheese doesn't break down that well. I mean, if it does, I haven't figured it out yet. But anyway, it's on medium heat, and we're going to try, while we're cooking down the bacon and onions and that, we're going to try and see how this works, and we will end up putting it in the dish. The bacon's done. We're going to put it in a bowl, and we're going to set it aside. And you can see, while I was doing the chicken broth and cream cheese, I kind of let it cook a little too much. I'm sure it'll be all right. Now we're on the pierogies. So I got these on sale. They were $2 for the box. We're going to use the whole box. So we're going to fry them up in the bacon grease, half at a time. And I don't want to really cook them. They're frozen right now, and that's fine. I just want to kind of give them a little crisp on the outside, just to see how that works. Normally what I do is I'll boil them and then throw them in the frying pan and give them a little sear that way. So I'm kind of doing it opposite, but I think with cooking it in the oven, it's going to work. So once they've browned up a little bit, I'm going to spray the baking pan that I've got, and we're going to take them all out and kind of spread them evenly in the bottom. And then we'll go on to the we'll go on to the second batch. So there's our second batch, and there it's done. You didn't need to really see that. So the mixture we had, I don't know if you can tell, it really didn't work out that good. I think I would still use the chicken stock, but probably skip the cream cheese. No, you know, we'll throw it in anyway. Why not? So we spread that around, and then the next thing I thought would be kind of cool is putting a can of cream of mushroom soup in. Just trying it out and see. We're not making the soup or anything. We're just going to put it in the way it is, condensed. Spread it around as best we can. Now I know I've used cream mushroom soup for cooking lots of things, including like a roast in the pork roast in the slow cooker. So I know this does work. It'll keep the pierogies a little liquidy too, a little moist. So that's good. So we spread that around as best we can. Now we're going to grab the other ingredients. So next up is the onions. We'll put the raw ones on first. We just sprinkle it around. You don't need a ton of them. Yeah, if you want a lot, put a lot on. But as you can see, that's kind of where we're at. Just enough to have some taste to it, and probably an equal amount of the cooked onions too. I mean, they obviously reduce when you cook them, but yeah, that's basically one medium onion all chopped up. It looks like a lot. When it cooks down, it really isn't. Next up, we're going to do the bacon and cheese. So here's the bacon. I wasn't sure at first if that was going to even be enough bacon. Turns out, you know, you could probably even use a little less, or a little more if you're really a bacon fanatic. Just depends. So we'll sprinkle all that around. Once it's done, the top layer is going to be the cheese. So we're going to spread that out nice and even. And oh, I'll tell you, this is really starting to come together nicely. I can't wait to get this in the oven. So we're just going to spread it around, you know, try to even it out. Where I don't have cheddar, I've got mozzarella, and where I have mozzarella, I don't have cheddar, kind of thing. It was just enough to cover the top, so by the time it was done baking, it looked like it turned out just right. So we're going to get this all done, and the next move is to get this casserole into the oven. So in she goes, and we're going to cook it for about half an hour, I think. I wanted everything to get all nice and melty. So while I'm waiting for it to cook, I thought, well, we need a garnish, and chives would work. Well, I didn't have any chives, I didn't have any green onions. But what I did have was old green onions that I tried growing on my windowsill. So as you can see, it looked like there was enough that I could use for a garnish. So I'm going to chop them up nice and small. I'm going to put them in a little bowl. And when the casserole is done, we'll just throw all that green stuff on top. Out it comes. I think I had it in about 25-ish minutes. Now, it's still bubbling. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can see it. We're going to sprinkle the chives on it, and I think I'm going to let it cool for a bit before I even try eating it, because I like my tongue and I really don't want to burn it. So we'll let it sit for about 10 minutes or so, just to cool down a little bit, and then we'll dig in. And the smell coming off of this, man, if you're not hungry before, you will be now. Okay, so there you have it, another great recipe. I enjoyed it. There's all sorts of different variations you could use, and I hope you'll try it. I really enjoyed it, and I'll make that dish again. So thanks for watching. Please feel free to share this video and other ones I've got. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.